All right, everyone. Thank you so much for coming out to the Alamo Area MPO's Walk-in Bike Night. We got a great amount of groups and members of the public here as well, coming to learn more about all of the walking and biking plans and projects coming to our region. Being that this is an active transportation advisory committee hosted meeting, we're just going to do a brief formality and call roll for those ATAC members, and I'm going to turn it over to Javier to do that roll call.
Veronica Escalera Ibarra. Lyle Huffsettler. Christina Solorzano. Jeff Jordan. Victor Sainz. Carly Farmer. Brandon Ross. Joshua Joshke. Isaac Levy. Here. Erica Taft. Bill Hill. Scott Wayman. Ryan Flipson. Bert Piquel. Joey Pollock. Here. Robert Hanley. Karen Bishop. Alicia Spence Schleisinger. Yvonne De La Rosa. Marisela Diaz-Wells. We do not have quorum.
All right. So, for those of you who don't know, we have a super stacked agenda for tonight. And that includes, first and foremost, the Alamo Area Metropolitan Planning Organization presenting first, with going to the City of San Antonio Transportation Department. We'll have ActivateSA next, and then the City of San Antonio Parks Department. We will also have the City of New Braunfels coming in to talk. We actually have Gary Ford here, who is the chair of our Technical Advisory Committee here at AAMPO. Next, we will have Ghisallo, and rounding out tonight with Via Metropolitan Transit. We do encourage y'all to come up with questions and ask people presenting tonight questions about their future plans and projects coming up. If you want to ask a question in person, we ask that you save it to the end of all presentations. At the end of Via's presentation, we'll be taking those in-person questions at that time. Or if you would like to, you can text your questions at any time throughout the night to 210-668-3614. Again, you could text questions whether you're viewing online on the live stream right now or you're in person, you just want to text your question to that phone number. So starting off, my name is Matthew Moreno. I am the multimodal transportation planner with the Alamo Area MPO. And right now we are going through the process of finalizing our fiscal year 2025 through 28 TIP projects. And I'll talk to you a little bit more about what that TIP means. So we'll talk about who we are as an organization, what is the TIP or the Transportation Improvement Program, and what are the next steps involved with that TIP process. So first off, who is AAMPO? We are basically a federally funded or federally mandated agency that guides transportation planning for the entire region. So we make sure that everyone's working together in our region so that we have a cohesive transportation system. And part of the way we do that is by allocating federal money to transportation projects. We actually do that through our TIP, which is what we're going to be talking about today. In addition, we also administer programs that improve mobility, air quality, and safety throughout our region. And when I say region, I mean this area. This is our study area, which is 3.5 counties, which includes Bexar, Comal, Guadalupe, and the southern half of Kendall counties. Pretty much 4 major cities in our region. That's Boerne, New Braunfels, Seguin, and San Antonio. So we cover 3.5 counties. That's over 2 million people. And over 50 million vehicle miles traveled daily in our region. So what is the Transportation Improvement Program? It covers a wide variety of things, from things like the HERO program you see TxDOT do, to capital projects like bike lanes, trails, highways, operational improvements for intersections. It covers a wide range of projects and programs. And it's part of a larger set of deliverables or documents that we create here at AAMPO. such as the MTP, which is in the middle there, our long-range planning document, which outlines goals, strategies, and transportation projects we would like to see completed in our area over the next 25 years. Still not working? In addition, we also complete something called the Transportation Conformity Document, which evaluates future transportation projects to ensure that they cause no further harm to air quality. And every project listed within our TIP and MTP goes through this process as well. We have a variety of grants that are included within our TIP. Currently, we're talking about our fiscal year 25 through 2028 Transportation Improvement Program. We had almost $76 million worth of projects request funding through our TIP project call this year. $41.4 million for our carbon reduction program and $26 million for our transportation alternatives program. That's the one we're going to look at more so today, is that transportation alternatives, because that includes all of our bicycle and pedestrian projects to be funded between 2025 and 2028. The first one being the Brooks Green Loop, which includes 7.5 miles of new and upgraded trails, which connect the Salado Creek and the Arboretum San Antonio to the Riverwalk, the Mission Reach section, through the Brooks campus. It also includes an underpass at I-37, and currently there are existing gravel trails along some of this right-of-way. This includes upgrading those to concrete. So this project is estimated to cost $9.34 million. The city of Selma requested funding for their Cibolo Creek Trail connection. It includes approximately a half mile of new shared use paths and bike lanes to connect to existing paths on Evans Road and Lookout Road across I-35. So this includes underpasses of both the frontage and the main lanes of I-35 and has an estimated project cost of $1 million. City of New Braunfels put in a request for intersection, crosswalk, and ADA improvements to reduce gaps at 5 locations, including constructing shared use paths, protecting protected pedestrian crossings, sidewalks, and ADA barrier removal. It's meant to connect schools, parks, and tourist areas with an estimated project cost of $1.74 million. City of San Antonio put in a request to add and improve curve ramps where they are currently inadequate or non-existent at dozens of locations citywide with their pedestrian accessibility improvements project. It's meant to connect schools, parks, and tourist areas and includes modifying pedestrian push button locations and upgrading those standard buttons to audible ones where they currently do not exist for a project cost of $4 million. City of New Braunfels again came with a project for Green Road. This is just one example of the street cross section that you could be seeing in the future along that area, and includes constructing 6-foot sidewalks, shared use paths, buffered bike lanes, and protected pedestrian crossings along that corridor through Green, and includes connecting a current network of bike facilities from downtown New Braunfels to the Faust Street Bridge and to Green, with an estimated project cost of $6.8 million. UTSA partnered with Bexar County, put in a project to construct shared use paths to connect UTSA to its surrounding area. One of these includes Babcock north of 1604, all the way up to Chase Hill Boulevard. Currently, TxDOT is constructing shared use paths along 1604 for that widening project, so all of these different pathways will be connecting to those TxDOT pathways as well. There's another connection at Walter Brennan Avenue, and then on the east side of campus at Valero Way, connecting the shared use paths at UTSA Boulevard to 1604, with an estimated project cost of $1.9 million. City of Schertz put in a request for funding for a shared use path to connect Weiderstein Road to Schertz Parkway, and will include rest stations and pedestrian crossing improvements for $1.2 million. And moving forward, the next steps for funding for these projects includes a public comment period for our draft Transportation Improvement Project program document, which will begin somewhere in the middle of April, so about a month from now, and run for a month to the middle of May. Following that, in June, we could see our policy board consider adoption of this document. From July to September, The FHWA, Federal Highway Administration, will review and approve our transportation improvement project or program. And then in October, we could see it go into effect pending that approval. I do want to also announce that we do amend the TIP periodically throughout each fiscal year as well, on top of that. So, how can you get involved with AAMPO and the TIP process? Once again, that TIP feedback, roughly April 15th to April 15th to May 15th. That's alamoareampo.org/yourmove. That's where you can give your feedback online. Alamo Commutes, you can download the app, track your multimodal commutes, and get rewarded for that. That's alamocommutes.org. There's also the Alamo Commutes app on your phone. And for anything active transportation, you can go to alamoareampo.org/active-transportation. We've got events coming up for Bike Month this May. We've got street skills classes. We have regular ATAC meetings and meetings such as this one. And for more information, my name is Matthew Moreno. You can call or email me at any time, and I would love to answer any more of your questions. If at this time I could get the City of San Antonio Bike Network Plan presenters up here. And while they're coming up, I do want to talk to you a little bit more about converting painted bike lanes to separated bike lanes using flexible plastic posts. This is something you see a lot going on in cities nationwide, where they put in these temporary plastic posts to create a physical barrier between a vehicle and a bike. And the FHWA says that you can see a 53% reduction in vehicle-bicycle crashes. So that physical separation for bike lanes reduces crashes and increases comforts for users of all ages. We do want to remind you at the MPO to always ride in the same direction as traffic and to use that full travel lane when necessary to maximize your presence. And TxDOT recommends that at lanes less than 14 feet wide. We also want to recommend that you always wear a helmet. So, City of San Antonio, take it away.
All right. So obviously, I'm part of the City of San Antonio's Transportation Department. My name is Isaac Levy. I'm a senior transportation planner. But besides that, I'm the deputy project manager for the Bike Network Plan. And then for those who do not know me, or better yet, for those who do know me or have seen me in the past, I'm usually the guy that just sits back and during any kind of presentations or anything that we have for the Bike Network Plan and just doesn't say much. I usually just let the stars of the show, project manager Harley Hubbard, as well as our star consultant here, David Bemperad, usually take over most of the talking. But in this time, it's going to be my time to do it. So today we're going to be speaking more with the Bike Network Plan. We're going to talk about how San Antonians get around today, which is part of what we covered in our first phase of social engagement, as well as what bike infrastructure exists today. Following that, we will speak more on how bikes impact our health here in the city of San Antonio, as well as what do our residents want to see. That was part of our phase 2 of social engagement. And then we'll finish off with what's next for the Bike Network Plan. So biking in San Antonio today, 60% of our respondents during our phase 1 of our social engagement said that it was difficult or very difficult to get around San Antonio without a car. Now, this figure might not be surprising to most of us here, as we already know that the city of San Antonio is a very car-oriented and very sprawled city. I tried to stay away from the hot topic words, but it is what it is. That's what we are here. But we will say though that 68% is a smaller percentage than we expected. To the 11% that think that it's very easy to get around San Antonio without a car, kudos to you guys. You guys are troopers, you guys are soldiers, and we aspire to be like you. And hopefully, with this Bike Network Plan, more of us can think that it's easy or very easy for us to get around this great city. Following that, 75% said that they were concerned about biking in San Antonio because they felt unsafe during fast-moving vehicles. So, I know this kind of wasn't part of the plan, but I want to see with just a raise of hands, guys, how many of you guys bicycle around San Antonio? Vast majority. All right. And how many of you, when you are bicycling, have to bicycle on an arterial road that has a high level of speed, anything over 35 miles per hour? Smaller show of hands, and I'm pretty sure those who are watching this or are going to watch this will probably have the same reactions to this as well. So, On top of that, too, 51% of our respondents said that they did not feel that there were not enough connections to other to safe facilities for them to bike on. So, in turn, safety and access are key themes that we have in this bike plan update, which is that what the bike network plan is. This is an update from the 2011 plan. So why do we walk or bike? Most of our respondents ended up saying that the reason why they walked or bike was for recreational purposes or for leisure and fun. Most of the people in San Antonio, which is no surprise, do not use their bikes or do not walk when it comes to going shopping or running errands, or to save money or commuting to work or school. But many of these trips in San Antonio, which is especially in the city inside of Loop 410, are less than 2 miles long. And then with this distance, this is more than enough for people. This is more than enough for people to decide to walk or bike to their destinations. So we wondered if there is ample opportunity for people to walk and bike to their destinations, and their destinations are less than 2 miles long, why aren't they biking? So that leads us to believe that a lot of our facilities here in the city of San Antonio are either not safe facilities, not protected enough facilities, or there are not enough facilities for them to get around it. So between 2020 and 2022, the fatal and serious injury bicycle crashes increased by 127%, which is an astounding figure. Of these slightly less than 5,500 pedestrian and bicycle crashes between 2018 and 2022, 331 of them were fatal injury crashes and 580 were serious injury crashes. These serious bike fatalities are on these serious bike crashes and fatal crashes are on the rise here in this city. And most of the bike crashes that are occurring on roadways just have a speed limit of over 50 miles an hour. And while this is a statistic that is currently occurring not just in San Antonio, we're not unique, this is occurring all over the United States, we should not be okay with just being okay with status quo and making ourselves feel as though, well, we're no different than the rest of the nation. That's not okay for us. We should be doing things that are better to help San Antonio citizens that decide to go bike or walk avoid injuries or fatalities. So, as part of the BNP, we did an existing facilities assessment to see what bike facilities do we have currently. So we do have a fair amount, or shall I say, 233 miles of shared use paths, 104 miles of which are part of our beautiful Howard Peak Greenway facilities. Thank you, Margarita. Following that, we have other shared use paths consisting of 99 miles within the city, and then trails limiting bike usage of 30 miles. Shared use path and Greenway trails deployment do not always connect to our on-street facilities or infrastructure, causing some of these issues that citizens are seeing when it comes to connections. Following that, 62 miles of our city network consists of shared lanes, including bike boulevards or assigned routes such as bike routes. But these deployments are often on roadways where cars are traveling too great of a speed for them to feel comfortable along, thus sometimes causing accidents and having too great of a frequency to be considered appropriate or safe. Some of the constraints that we see on our bike facilities include bike facilities being near areas of high speed, such as you see on the northwest side on Timber Path. In this example, this bike path is near a school zone, and it's also along a roadway that's 35 miles per hour speed limit, and has an in bike lane as well. So people that are coming from that children that are coming from that elementary school, they use this bike lane to get home in the neighborhoods that are near the school, but they end up having to either get themselves into traffic or they go onto a sidewalk, which unfortunately is illegal here in the city of San Antonio. Following that, driver conflicts. So for those who bike on heavily used arterial roads that have bike lanes, most of y'all would see that there are some times where the bike lane has to kind of maneuver through the right turn lanes and kind of have to navigate between traffic, and this can get very tricky for most of us and most of y'all whenever there's an area with heavy traffic or an intersection with heavy traffic. So following off with that, We have facility terminations, and this is primarily speaking towards the on-street facilities. So for those who have biked down Jeever Street and many other streets around the city, as you get close to an intersection, there are some times where the facility or bike facility, bike lane, whether it's protected or unprotected, just stops abruptly. And then lastly, we have issues with facility conditions. This consists of a variety of things such as fading paint, poor pavement that needs to be redone, as well as sometimes there are people who are parked in the bike facility, as we see right near our beloved city tower and many other places in San Antonio. Or you have trash bins that are in the way, causing bicyclists to have to go into the street, and sometimes ending in, unfortunately, an accident, causing a serious crash or a fatality. Fortunately/unfortunately, these constraints and these issues allow for opportunities to improve. So one of these opportunities that we have and that have been seen around the city are traffic calming devices such as speed bumps, as you can see here on Pickwell Drive. Facility separation that exists on various parts of the city of San Antonio, such as a cycle track on Floyd Curl Drive, as well as another cycle track that occurs on Flores Street next to the HEB. And gotcha. I didn't know I was taking so much time. Anyways, facility connections, such as the facility connections that go from Mission Road onto the Mission Parkway trails, and facility maintenance done by our park department on the Greenways. For our social needs, we realize that 32% of people in the city of San Antonio are 32% more likely to have a disability than the rest of the state of Texas overall. Also following that, 3.2% of households in the city of San Antonio lack access to a vehicle. While this is not a large number and is not a crazy amount here compared to the rest of the United States or rest of the state of Texas, our ownership rate is quite high. The ownership rate is 45.8% less than the rest of the state of Texas. These safety inequalities and concerns have significantly higher rates of pedestrian and bicycle crashes in the city of San Antonio. In fact, 113% of bicycle crashes occur in areas that are located with equity concerns. In San Antonio, typically the average person spends a little bit over 1/5 of their income on transportation. Most of the stuff was done what we do is that we would combine our data with the city of San Antonio's equity atlas, and it would allow for us to come up with some of the figures that we came up with, such as 34% of those without access to a car cannot reach the grocery store within 15 minutes of biking. With all the data that we've compiled through the entire first two phases of the bike network plan, we ended up creating a bike equity index, and it was which pretty much highlighted the high socioeconomic needs and areas with high socioeconomic needs, but have limited access to high quality bike infrastructure. Also, going into our phase two of phase two social engagement, respondents were kind of split on. We wanted to ask respondents on what kind of facilities that they wanted to see, as well as what they would be more comfortable using. So one of the main questions that we asked them was, what would you be more comfortable having? Would you be more willing to do? Would you be more willing to bike on a roadway that is busy and that is fast moving, but it has a protected facility? Or would you be more willing to detour and ride onto a quieter street? And respondents were pretty much split. Most of them were kind of split on whether they want to be on a quiet street or whether they want to be on a busier street. Also, respondents weren't as selective at all. They wanted both, as well as we wanted Greenway trails as well as protected on-street facilities. Also, we wanted to ask our respondents what kind of bike facilities that they feel more comfortable on. As one can figure, those who bike lanes that are unprotected or bike lanes with a small buffer were bike facilities that they didn't really feel the most comfortable on. But behind curb bike lanes, protected bike lanes with Jersey barriers were ones that they felt more comfortable on. So, what's next for us? As of right now, we don't have a for sure schedule with our list of engagements or events. However, we are going to be available on April 7th at Ciclovia. Our list of events will be sent out at a future date. Our engagement will be from April 2024 to August of 2044. And this is where we will have our final engagement of PUSH, and this is also where we will release our last survey for responding to citizens in the city of San Antonio. That is all.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Isaac, and the City of San Antonio Transportation Department for coming out here to talk to us about the bike network plan. If we could get ActivateSA up and ready, I want to talk to y'all about roundabouts. So, did you know that replacing a traditional signaled intersection with a roundabout reduces fatal and high injury crashes by 78%? That's because roundabouts slow speeds to safe levels and reduce the conflict severity when conflicts do occur. They also tend to reduce vehicle delay as well. We do want to acknowledge that roundabouts can be difficult for people with disabilities to cross as pedestrians. But we also do want to remind drivers that you must always yield to pedestrians that are crossing in those crosswalks. So at this time, if we've got that worked out. All right, we'll keep on going. I'll break it over to Joey with ActivateSA.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. My name is Joey Pavlik. I'm the executive director of ActivateSA. Also, alumni, technically, I guess, of AAMPO. Used to be Matthew's position a while ago, and now over here leading ActivateSA. We're a nonprofit, active transportation, transit-focused organization, and looking forward to talking more about what our organization is tonight and one of our big projects we're working on right now. So why are we here? Like many of y'all, or like the city Isaac mentioned earlier too, we have a big, some ways of crisis, but also many opportunities to make our community better. There's been a rise in crashes throughout our community. We have opportunities to improve our infrastructure in many ways. And in some cases, we need to also rally to make sure we do receive the appropriate amount of funding to build the type of infrastructure we want to see that's mentioned in the bike network plan or other areas to make our city an even better place and even build off the existing good infrastructure that is out there today. And a little bit on how we got started as an organization. Started from a vision of connecting a trail from the Almas Basin Trail, if you've ever been on that, just south of the quarry, to Salado Creek on the north side. Essentially filling a gap that's mentioned earlier too, the bike network plan. What are some of those gaps that exist out there? And for us, took a tactical approach to proposing some options for the city to consider. And fortunate enough that there's a lot of great people at the city who actually consider these and helped make some of these options a reality. And this one's still a work in progress. We're working with some of our friends at the Great Springs Project and the city staff to make this happen, to make, again, create more mobility options for on foot and bike and more to get around our city. A little bit about us. I mentioned getting out there and advocating for that funding. And that was one of our big roles we played in the last 2022 bond cycle, and proposing some of our own options for the city to consider for folks on foot and bike and more, and helping the city secure that $106 million in funding for our Greenway trails. If some of y'all remember, there was some conversation about where this funding would come from, how much funding will be allocated for the Greenway trails. So it wasn't just us. There's a big community focus and advocacy in making this happen. So through our, not just our support, but also, bike groups and many others getting out there and rallying, telling the city that our Greenway trail system matters a lot to folks here in our city and means a lot in various ways for folks getting to work, getting to school, getting exercise, and more. And so we look forward to continuing to, work with city staff to make sure that we do receive that funding and make sure we build out this great system we have here. I'm sure we're going to learn about more later on as well. And a little bit about ActivateSA, our early days too, how also approaching our on streets, our streets, Greenway trails, and how can we think about ways for folks to get around easier. One of those ways was during COVID. A lot of us were locked up and trying to figure out ways for us to get more active. So that was an effort through the Share the Streets campaign, working with the city to open up more opportunities for people to get out in the streets safely, to walk and bike and more. Again, working on that active transportation system throughout our city and advocacy for the 2022 bond cycle. Again, working with the Great Springs Project on the Bexar County leg of that amazing efforts, and also critical commentary on various efforts with the city. So again, we have a great work coming from the city of San Antonio, but sometimes as advocates, we need to use our voices to let the city know, also our fellow citizens know that these amazing opportunities from protected bike lanes, better sidewalks that have shading the sidewalks and more, we need those options in our community. And technical support, for instance, working with folks like Brooks to help secure funding through the MPO to make that project happen, and also hosting regular meetings to create opportunities to share information about projects and opportunities happening in the community. So a little bit more about us too. We were formed in 2019, and we're a 501c3 nonprofit whose mission is to activate a connected, equitable, resilient, and safe community for all San Antonians through transportation advocacy, consensus building, and education. And again, a lot of this work, there's opportunities out there that exist already. As a transportation planner too, we hear this term often where some of these plans are just sitting on the shelf. Sometimes we need community support and advocates to get out there and support the city or show that this is a priority to our elected officials to make sure that these opportunities happen. And happen in the kind of quality and comfort that we want to see happen as pedestrians and cyclists and multimodal users. And for us, getting around on foot and bike more is not just about using our streets. How are we thinking about this entire system? This is our streets. They're connected to everything. They create opportunities for people to get to work, to school. Opportunities for better housing, affordable housing. How are they connected to things like our Greenway trails and equitable economic development? How are we thinking about other opportunities like anti-displacement protections when we're thinking about new infrastructure going to communities? And of course, one of my favorites is talking about even how can we get more trees in our streets here in our city, especially as we're facing a climate crisis. It's getting warmer every day and every summer. Hopefully, the summer's not as bad as last summer, but if you biked around our city streets, especially last summer, it feels like you're biking around in 150 degree heat on our streets. It's doable, but it's not very comfortable. And so one of our biggest efforts right now is working with the city and supporting the city in working on an update for a complete streets policy. We're working on this effort through the San Antonio Complete Streets Coalition, a group of more than 30 community organizations supporting the city through showing support for this policy update, but also making recommendations on how we can make an even better policy for our future. So if you've maybe read, we do have a policy on the books from 2011. It set about vision, goals, recommendations on how to create safer, better streets. But it's time for an update. Like other efforts going on, we need a new, stronger vision for our city to create safer, healthier streets, ways to decrease and eradicate those roadway deaths. Nobody should be killed on our streets, bicyclists, pedestrians, or motorists. And ensuring accessibility for users of all ages and abilities. And think of complete streets or this policy as, again, not just a way to design the streets, but as a process. Starting from the beginning, maybe coordination within the city departments, so even coordination with community members, and focusing on how that can serve to create a connected, resilient, and equitable transportation network that ensures equitable access to community resources for all people, including those who walk, bike, use a wheelchair, use public transportation, or drive. Simply put, complete streets are streets for everyone, no matter who they are or how they travel. And some perspectives on this, again, while it is a process, there could be some great outcomes. Like these photos show here from another great organization, Strong Town, or the National Strong Towns organization, show some great ideas of how that process can create amazing results. And one of my favorite things to say is, if you're creating a street that's safer for pedestrians and cyclists, you're also creating a street that's safer for motorists too. So especially in a city like we talked about earlier, very car-centric city, car-centric mindsets. Again, if we're focusing on how we're building and planning safer, more comfortable elements for pedestrians and cyclists, we're creating an environments and ecosystem that's better for everybody. And again, time is of the essence. We talked about earlier the essentially huge issue of roadway fatalities and serious injuries in our area, in our United States. But there's a designation that's actually the AAMPO AAMPO is designated as the, it's a federal, pedestrian focus, or, oh my gosh.
Focused approach.
Pedestrian focused approach to safety. Blah, I need some dinner. But anyway, what that means is we have a disproportionately high number of pedestrian crashes in our region. So from fatalities to serious injuries, we need to find ways to eradicate that issue. And of course, as you're all aware too, one of the best ways is to change the roadway design and reduce speeds to make it safer and better for everybody and keep people alive. And so again, I mentioned that San Antonio Complete Streets Coalition, we're working on ways to work with the city to develop this policy, provide recommendations, and support the city in this effort to make sure we do have a strong policy that's passed in the end. We're a wide-ranging group of community organizations, some folks from public health community, disability community, and more, and making sure that we have that strong policy that meets national standards. If you've heard of an organization called Smart Growth America, advocate for better, stronger policies in the United States. They have what's called a Complete Streets Policy Framework. Our goal is to reach 100 out of 100, or maybe exceed that in expectations. Maybe the city currently has a section on sustainability and or better environmental considerations. So as a city that's a flash flood alley and also deals with heat issues, how can we improve our policies to create a better outlook for our city through roadway design and more? And so I'm running short on time here, but a few priority areas that we'd like to see updated in the next policy include prioritization of vulnerable road users, reference the development of an inclusive community engagement plan, require the collection and publication of performance measures, including performance measures that account for equity, include explicit exceptions, encourage private development projects comply, and establish a timeline for review and improvements projects. Establish a timeline for the review and improvements to project selection criteria. And more about the coalition, we've had town halls. We have a monthly meeting at the end of the last Tuesday of the month at noon. We'd love to have you a part of that coalition and your organization and your support. Again, reference to our support for the city and their work of updating this policy. If you're part of an organization who would like to support this policy, let me know. We have a webpage set up, activatesa.org/complete streets. Our goal is when the city goes to pass this policy, we're going to have a whole list of maybe 50 organizations to show to City Council that our community wants and needs this policy to pass. And the City of San Antonio, as mentioned, is working on this policy update. They're hosting a virtual Complete Streets meeting on April 3rd. They have a website set up, saspeakup.org/complete streets. You can also voice your support for the policy there and find out info on the virtual meeting. And we're working on a town hall May 14th during Bike Month for State of the SA Bike Community events for more about complete streets and more. And to wrap up, so for ActivateSA, we think we need to activate a better San Antonio through our daily active transportation and transit advocacy for short-term and long-term solutions through awareness efforts, storytelling, data analysis, community engagement and mobilization, technical assistance review, events such as town halls and lectures, and local project development and implementation advocacy with groups like entities like San Antonio, Bexar County, VIA, AAMPO, and more. And again, that's through efforts like advocating for particular projects or efforts, street audits, or even events, fun events like our Fiesta Bike Parade coming up on April 13th. And thank you all very much. If you'd like to find out more about us, go to our website, activatesa.org. Find out more about our projects, events, and how to support us as a nonprofit. Thank you all so much.
All right. Thank you so much, Joey. If I could get the City of San Antonio Parks Department up here, we'll talk a little bit more about sidewalks in the meantime. Sidewalks can account for a 65 to 89% reduction in crashes involving pedestrians walking along a roadway. So sidewalks obviously provide a separated space for pedestrians, and they can also be widened to about 10 to 12 feet to create something called a shared use path, where you can share that space with the bicycles. We want to remind everyone that if there are no sidewalks present along a roadway, to walk along the roadway facing traffic. All right, let's bring up the City of San Antonio Parks Department.
Matt. Good evening, everybody. My name is Margarita Hernandez. I'm the Assistant Capital Programs Manager for the Greenway Trails Program, and I'm going to let Sophia introduce herself.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sofia Martino. I'm here with the City of San Antonio Parks and Recreation. I work on the capital project side of the HWP Greenway Trails. So we're just going to talk to you a little bit about this program and some exciting things we have going on right now within our program.
And just to remind you, if you didn't pick up a map, we have maps up in the front for you to have, okay?
Yes. So a little bit of history behind this program. So back in 1998, Mayor Howard Peak and the City Council, they came up with the idea to create linear parks along our creekways. They mainly focused on the San Antonio River, Leon Creek, and Salado Creek. And in the year 2000, the first round of funding was approved by voters for about $20 million. Okay, and so our main mission is to enhance quality of life for not only people who live in San Antonio, but people who visit it as well. So we do that by achieving these goals, which include expanding recreational opportunities and park access. So we try to connect our trails to parks that already exist. We try to do street connections, connections to schools and libraries where we can. And in the future, hopefully we'll have more of those connections. We also try to preserve open space and riparian connectivity. So these trails serve really as a way for people to connect to nature within an urban environment, which is really awesome because, you know, San Antonio is growing every day. So it's nice to have that little pocket of green space for you to, you know, just walk by out of your neighborhood into. And then we also serve as a way for pedestrian and bicycle connectivity. So some people even use the Greenway to get to work or to get to school, which is really awesome. And we also try to increase creekway access for stormwater management. So our design objectives. What are we thinking about when we're designing these trails? So our main goal is to have ADA accessible trails. We try to do 10 to 12 foot. We're aiming to do larger trails as they become more popular. We have increased users, so we need to make sure to accommodate those. We also try to include trailhead locations that are convenient to residents, so closer to neighborhoods and places where people are going to be able to easily access the trail, whether it's after work or, you know, during the winter holiday or something like that. We want to have people going on our trails and experiencing that. And then we also try to include environmental sustainability when designing our trails. So we try to do permeable pavers. We do more tree plantings and things like that using the tree mitigation fund. So we're trying to reforest some areas where the trail will be, which is really awesome. And then we also try to remove invasive species and help alleviate dumping and off-roading. So having us in our presence in the trail deters people from doing those things. So as you can see here, and with this sign here that Margarita has, we have a whole lot of trail, over 100 miles. And currently we have 18 miles that are funded by the bond, and those are currently in design. And then we have 24 miles that have been funded by Bexar County, which is really awesome. And our goal is to, as you can see on this map here, we kind of have a loop going around the city, and that was the vision for the Howard W. Peak Trails. The mayor, he wanted an emerald necklace around our city, and we're getting closer every day to completing that. We just have a couple more segments left. Hopefully, you know, in the next 10 years, we'll have that for sure. But yes, lots of exciting developments here with our program. And then just some stuff that people ask is, how do we manage all of this? You know, there's a whole lot of trail. There's more, you know, year after year. So we do have trail stewards, which are shown here in this picture. They wear bright colors, and they ride the trails every day And they're there to answer questions, help people out who might be lost. During the summers, they give out water and have hydration stations to support our community because, it does get hot here in San Antonio. And then we also have a dedicated maintenance team for the trails. So their job is to go out on the trails. They try to touch every single segment at least once a week. They pick up trash, clean, anything like after a storm event, there might be mud on the trails, things like that. So they try to maintain it for our community. And then we also have stormwater operations. So they go in there and they remove debris once every 5 years and in different sections of the trail. And so here we just have some pictures of trails. So this is our Leon to Salado Greenway connection. This was really important for us. It connected the two segments in the upper section of the Greenway, which is really significant for us. And believe it or not, there are people who ride all the way from Salado to the other side of Leon. So props to them. That's a whole lot of trail. I think about 40 miles, maybe more. But we have a lot of dedicated users. We also have another area, the Medina River Natural Area. You'll see lots of wildlife here, so snakes, let me think, what else? Turtles, foxes, lots of stuff. So if you're looking for a more nature-based experience, that's definitely fun. Yeah, birds too. Then we have a more urban trail, Westside Creeks. So this actually has a connection to downtown. So a lot of people in this area will use this for their commute to get to work and to school, things like that. So it's a great connection to have, and it's oftentimes safer than the streets. And then we also include public art and butterfly gardens on some of our trailheads, which is really cool. It's something fun. You have a unique experience when coming to different trailheads. And then this is one of our newer trailheads, the Stanley Spiegel Trailhead. It's off of Leon Creek. I believe it's near.
It is off of Gilbo Road in Bandera. This is one of, like Sophia said, one of our new ones. It's really nice. As you can see, that little creek, that little riverbed is our Lid River, right? It treats all the water from the parking lot into there. We also have pervious pavers that different colors that we put there. And this particular trail, we try to incorporate a variety of plants and trees. They're not just your standard oaks or, the regular center stuff. They are local native plants, so they're going to be very sustainable on their own. So we wanted to highlight this piece. If you haven't been there, this trailhead just got built so you could have connectivity on that French Creek section of the creek.
And then just really quickly, just a list of some upcoming projects. Many of these are bond funded, but as I said before, we have lots and lots of trail that'll be coming online within the next couple of years, especially, with that bond cycle. So a lot of this will be coming online at the same time. And then just some more projects. Some of these are funded by the county. So lots of new events, hopefully in the next couple of years, ribbon cuttings. But yeah, that's it. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, City of San Antonio, for coming up and talking a little bit more. If I could get the City of New Braunfels to come up here for the next presenter. While we're switching to the City of New Braunfels and their Vision Zero plan, I want to talk a little bit more about vehicular speed. According to the NTSB, a vehicle traveling at 30 miles per hour has a 45% chance of killing or seriously injuring a pedestrian. But if you go down 10 miles an hour to 20, that chance significantly drops to 5%. So what that tells us is that vehicle speed is one of the most important factors in reducing fatalities and serious injuries. And traffic calming measures such as narrow streets, speed bumps, and roundabouts ensure that vehicles drive at safe speeds. We also want to remind you here at AAMPO to always drive according to conditions, slow down when pedestrians are present, and to never drive faster than the speed limit. And we'll give it over to the City of New Braunfels.
Thank you, Matthew, and always be a reasonable and prudent driver. So I was talking to the city manager about that today, and that's in the MUTCD and what us engineers assume to be in place, but we know where that goes. But anyways, thank you, Matthew. I'm Gary Ford. I'm the Director of Transportation Capital Improvements and City Engineer for the City of New Braunfels. Been there for quite some time, and really excited to present this effort right now. And I'll kind of do another shout out to David and his work here with the Safe Streets for All program. It's really our consultant, K-Freeze, and RSNH has been helping us out through here. So we have moving forward with our Vision Zero, and we adopted a plan for 2040. So that is when we want to achieve zero fatalities. In our area, we don't have as many, but we do have crashes. And we have 38 fatal crashes in a 4-year period, 216 serious injury crashes, and we all know what Vision Zero is. And I think we all agree that no one should lose their life on the roadway at all. So again, that's our goal. And one thing I want to point out is really the last bullet, the transportation and funding investments. We've been very fortunate in City of New Braunfels of receiving a lot of transportation. That is one of our city leadership's goals, is to improve transportation. So we want to make sure that we are designing and constructing and delivering projects that are safe. So that's why it's important at this time to make sure we have this plan. So as we present projects, not only for the Safe Streets for All grant program, but as we design our projects in general, our goal is safety. For us in New Braunfels, we're really fortunate. We have a really great community engagement, and believe me or not, that's really good. So every one of our public meetings for our project, for our comp plan, for the MPO is very well attended. And that was the same for our Vision Zero stakeholder meetings. We had a stakeholder meeting with a number of agency staff, but we also had a public meeting that was very well attended and provide some great feedback. And I'm going to read our mission statement. New Braunfels is committed to eliminating traffic fatalities and severe injuries on all its streets by improving roadway design, expanding safe driving enforcement, and supporting safe and healthy mobility options for all ages and abilities. And again, this is a goal for city staff and also for the community and our city council. So we went through the process of doing the high injury network and identified the priority network for New Braunfels. The good news is that most of these streets we do have projects for. But what this means is that we want to evaluate these projects and address specific safety concerns that we have on that. The bad news is most of our serious injuries are on TxDOT roadways. We can't control that. We can work with our partners. So we'll be working with our partnership with TxDOT and the MPO to address those issues on the state highway system. But we're doing our best to control what we're doing on the city of New Braunfels streets. Pretty standard Safe Streets toolbox. One item that's come up for us is really that traffic calming measures and program, of more of a speed management program. We have a speed hump policy from 1999. And we're still using that criteria, staff, and presenting recommendations to City Council from 1999. Again, that's unacceptable. So we're really moving forward with totally revamping our traffic calming, more speed management program, and getting that out to the community, and then pushing the envelope, and to some extent, and more to address the community concerns on speeding. Recommendations, again, policy goals, safer speeds. I think, I was on my way in from New Braunfels, actually coming down 281, going 70 miles an hour, speed limit 60. Just about 80% of people pass me. Again, so what can you do? Yes, it's a highway, but we see these on local streets, right? So again, what can we do to really get that information out? And it's really everything, from design to construction to enforcement to education. So it's really a big challenge that we have. We know it. And again, it goes back to being that reasonable and prudent driver. Now we're turning out most people aren't. So how do we kind of get that message across? The other part really for us is really that streamlined implementation. Many of us work for the city and an agency, so all the red tape for us to go out and saying, hey, we need a speed hump tomorrow. I can go get Public Works to do it tomorrow. That usually isn't what it works. You usually got to get community feedback to advisory board, take it to city council, find funding, then you fight your Public Works department to install it in general, and then also fight your Public Works department to maintain it. But again, it's that process. But if we streamline our implementation, saying, yep, we're going to do it, we have funding, let's get it done tomorrow, that looks just a lot better for us. And then the other really part of it too is that continuous evaluation. What we're doing out there, is that really making a difference? Because that really sells the project. So we've had experience. We did a neck down and showed this. We collected the data and we saw a 6 mile an hour difference in speeds. You take that, you can implement that moving forward. So again, it's really focusing on those measures that you are successful with. So for the implementation, again, we're developing projects for MPO funding, for the federal funding. The other part is providing a multimodal framework. Really appreciate what the City of San Antonio is doing on their bike network plan. We're proposing to do the same next year. We have City Council support to do that for our community, and also a pedestrian safety plan as well. Update to speed hump policy, that's number 1 on our list. And then again, I'm gonna do number 5, focus enforcement. We have a really good partnership with our police department. Every Friday, the police chief sends me a hotspot list of crashes. We take a look at that and then we review that and see, okay, what can we do to really make some changes in New Braunfels? And then here on March 25th, our city council is gonna be adopting this plan. So again, you see the pledge right there that we're going to go through, have the formal adoption of our plan, and then likely a resolution proclamation in April for our Safe Street Action Plan, Vision Zero plan. So with that, that's it.
Don't go too far, Gary, because you will be presenting once again. Talking a little bit more about safety. Streetlights have a 42% reduction in crashes that injure pedestrians within intersections at night. So at a national level, nighttime only sees a quarter of vehicular travel, but the same number of fatal crashes as the daytime. And specifically in our study area, in the MPO study area, nighttime crashes between that 12 hours between 6 p.m. and 6 a.m. accounted for 2/3 of our traffic deaths within a 5-year period from 2018 to 2022. So we want to remind everyone when walking or cycling at night, always stay as visible as possible. But most importantly, that drivers need to slow down, especially in those low visibility areas and areas where you're expecting pedestrians. Back to you.
I'm going to present really on another very exciting item for us at the City of New Braunfels is on transit. Our friends here at VIA has been a big partner in us moving forward on our transit. So a little bit of background on transit. We've been relying on ACOG ART, the demand response service, for quite some time, but we know it's more of a rural service. There's some limitations to that. You have to call 24 hours in advance. And for the most part, it's really good at those medical and school trips where we know that is. But in the city, you cannot use that just on a regular daily basis for public use. So our communities definitely recognize the need to improve transit service in general. So again, in 2010, it's all related to the census. So in 2010, New Braunfels was designated as a urbanized area as part of the overall San Antonio urbanized area. And that's a primary reason why New Braunfels, Comal County, Guadalupe County have really joined the MPO, but it also put some commitments to the city of New Braunfels of having to pay for transit. So now, or back in 2010, now since it was rural funds, suburban funds, City of New Braunfels had to pay 50% of our federal share, or our share for transit, and we're currently looking at $1 million for that demand response service that we support ART with. However, it's very limited in use. So again, we're moving forward with making some changes. And this shows you kind of the map, and you see that little finger there on 35 joined us back in 2010, and it prompted a lot of changes, and mostly positive. I would say us joining the MPO has been a tremendous benefit for really the area for us. But with our explosive growth, there's no secret for us. We're now going into 110,000. We've been the fastest growing city in the country. Now we're out of the last decade. Now we're out actually 15th. So we're out of the top 10 for the first time in 15 years. But a lot of growth, and community requests are, we need to improve transit. We need to improve transit. So working with our partner VIA, and then working with the MPO, we did an initial transit study that really outlined the strategies. Our city council said, hey, let's really take this to the next level, more of an implementation. We initiated that in 2023, last year, and then the 2020 census came out. Guess what? Now we're separate. So we're our own urban area that's now separated. It's still, you see it a little bit joined, but it's based on population, which now opens up the opportunity for us as New Braunfels to create our own urban transit district that now we can get the direct funds and control what we want to see regarding transit. So we went through, again, following that information, we went through a pretty extensive, robust planning process to making sure that we're implementing transit the way the community expects and to set us up for success of adopting a transit development plan. So the past year, we went through that. Our city council adopted our transit development plan in November, and now we're moving forward. So for the short term, 1 year, so actually a little bit over 1 year, we're looking in fiscal year 2025 of beginning citywide microtransit service. So Via Link, really looking at Via Link and coordinating with our partners at Via and also other folks as well on the microtransit service. That's the way it's the Uber pull service. Pull out your phone, you can get a ride, and what our projections is we can serve New Braunfels citywide for the money we currently pay now, in addition to some additional state funds. The other part too that we've been working on is really securing that direct recipiency funding. Going through the FTA, again, is a process, but I'll tell you what, the transit community is as friendly and as supportive as any area can be. So again, we really appreciate the partnerships in transit. And then now we're in the process of really determining our operating budget. We got the apportionment out recently, last couple of weeks, so we kind of know in our current funds to move forward with microtransit service. So we're kind of working that on and then really looking to get that implemented in 2025. Medium term, we're looking at fixed routes within 2 to 5 years. Again, this is going to be based on data that we get from the microtransit service to see if this is viable, is really see what can be supported in New Braunfels regarding fixed route, and then targeting a capital fixed route plan to do next fiscal year as part of some funding that we have. The other part too is we're coordinating with the AAMPO, and this should go out here in the next couple of weeks, of a regional transit study to connect New Braunfels to San Antonio, to Seguin, to San Marcos regarding commuter and what that entails. Again, a data-driven process that we can present. Long term, again, with our studies, there's a support for up to 6 fixed routes. Again, continue to monitor the development, the density, and the data that we get from the rideshare. And then update our transit development plan. Technology changes, partnerships changes, so we definitely want to update our transit development plan. So our next steps, again, really is to establish our urban transit district. The great news is that the state recognized that last week. So we should be getting a letter from the governor any day now that creates and establishes our transit district. So with that, we get the state funds. And now we're going through the wonderful process of working through the FTA to demonstrate that we can be direct recipient. The great news is we work through the we work through the MPO, FHWA, CDBG, all the federal programs, so we're set up nicely and have the staff and technical ability to handle this. And then working with our staff, we hired Edna Johnson, our new transit support coordinator. We stole her from Round Rock, years of experience, so she's really setting us up for success, and we're really excited to implement that and have a on-demand microtransit service in 2025. So I'm going to reiterate, really that partnership with the agencies has been tremendous across the board, from working with ACOG ART to VIA to FTA to TxDOT, their public transportation division, has been really special and really encouraging that we can make transit successful in New Braunfels. So that's it. Thank y'all.
All right. Thank you so much, Gary. Great to see some transit coming New Braunfels' way in the near future. if I could invite Ghisallo to come up for the next presentation. I want to talk a little bit more about pedestrian refuge islands, which are known to reduce crashes between pedestrians and vehicles by 56%. They're refuge areas in the middle of the roadway that are meant to provide protection and assistance to pedestrians. They allow them to cross one travel direction of traffic at a time. And we always want to remind those of you from the MPO to always look both ways when crossing, but also when driving to always stop for pedestrians, whether they're in a marked or unmarked crosswalk. So, Ghisallo, take it away.
Okay, cool, thanks. Hey y'all, how's it going? Some familiar faces, some not. For those of you all who do not know who I am specifically outside of Christina, who is also with Ghisallo back there. Hey girl. My name is Carrie Kuamura. I'm the executive director for Ghisallo Cycling Initiative. Raise your hand if you've ever heard of us before. Wow. All right, here we go. So for those of you who don't know who we are a nonprofit in Central Texas. We run nicely along the 35 corridor from Austin down into San Antonio. And what we do is we work with all ages and abilities to get confident lifelong riders. And we work with kids all the way to this big to adults all the way up to 100 years old. So we do a lot of work within the community here in San Antonio and in Austin as well. So when people think of bikes, they think we're outside recreating, having fun, just doing like the after school program stuff, but it's so much more than that. We're teaching these kids skills. We're showing them how to explore their communities, how to navigate around their town, and how to use bikes as an alternative mode of transportation. So while they're out here learning how to pedal, learning how to ride the trails, they're out here learning hand signals, how to utilize the bike lanes, how to utilize the infrastructure that everyone is advocating for around here. And so we do that with 3 branches of our program. So All Ages and Abilities, Cycle Academy, Step 1, those are our kids. We have several programs with them. So we have all the way down to Bike Start, where we go and teach kids how to balance on their bikes, use the pedals, go around a little course, and then finally they're riding within a few hours, especially if they're working with Christina. She's really good. She's worked with my kid personally, so they're really good. Bike skills challenges. So we'll go into schools, work with them during their PE class, and we'll set up a course. And our staff will come in and teach them how to utilize infrastructure, how to stop at the stop sign. What do you do when you stop? You use your hand signals. You have stopping, you have turn left, you have turn right. And my favorite, the highlight of our program is scanning, where they actually have to look backwards and someone like Christina is holding up 1 arm, 2 arms, or no arms, and they have to have control of their bike while they're navigating this course. And then we also have bike clubs for youth programs. So right now, during spring break, during the summers, during Christmas break, and in Austin year-round, we have bike clubs at different schools. So what we do is we have a distributed model for these bike clubs, right? We have a container set up at different spots around the city. They're called bicycle base stations. So you open up these 20-foot containers, and there's metal on one door with a gate, and then helmets hanging on one side. You open the other door, and there's a bike mechanic station with the table and all of these things. And then you walk into the container, and then you'll see bikes set up. So you walk into these containers and everything's there. We are removing barriers for anybody to experience cycling. A lot of the excuses we hear from the kids and the reasons why they're not on bikes is, we live in an apartment. My bike was stolen. My bike has a flat tire. That's my favorite one, because then it just goes away after the flat tire happens, when it could easily just be aired up or a tube can be changed out. So that's a lot of the stuff we hear with our youth programming. City Cyclist is working with adults and older folks of all ages and abilities who want to go out there and explore this type of infrastructure, but they're not comfortable with it yet. One of my favorite ones was actually here last year that Christina led, and I went on that ride with them, and we took a stop at Confluence Park. And then we got out a bunch of tires, right? And then we actually had them pair up and change the tire. And they got the tube, they put the new tube in, and they changed their tire and all this. The coolest thing I heard was these grown women saying that was the reason they didn't get on their bike and ride alone on the Greenway trails. They didn't know what they would do if they had like a minor mechanical issue, like a flat tire or something. And we got them out there, we got them confidently riding, and they knew what to take with them, and they knew what to do if that ever happened again. So this is, real stuff. And then Golden Rollers, my all-time favorite program. And you'll see them riding around Broadway on Friday mornings from Lions Field Center. So that's our senior program where we ride around on trikes and also we ride on recumbents. And it's for seniors age 55 and older and also people with disabilities. My mom is a Golden Roller. She loves it. And so she will also drive to Austin to do both Austin and San Antonio Golden Rollers. She loves it. But one thing that I've seen personally happen in my family is that this proposed an excellent opportunity for community and exploring people's community. In the summer, we do a program with B-Cycle here in San Antonio, where seniors will actually get an annual pass for B-Cycle. And staff will work with them and teach them how to check out a bike. And it's literally like the whole first day, like Christina's like this on their phone, trying to help seniors navigate the B-Cycle app to check out a bike and get out. And so there's all these barriers that we're removing that people don't even realize that we have to get people exploring their communities. But it's so cool because they get on these electric assist bikes. They take off from Commander's House, which is at that, someone had a wonderful picture of Flores, and they have the infrastructure there right in front of the HEB. And they can ride the Mission Trail. They stop at Confluence Park and they experience that whole side of the Greenway that they would not have had access to because they don't have access to an electric assist bike. There were seniors that we rode with last year. They had never seen Confluence Park, and it was right in their neighborhood. So hearing that stuff from people who are actually benefiting from us and using that B-Cycle pass after that year has ended, after our program has ended in the summer, it's really cool to see these stories happen in real time. I knew that was going to happen. Here we go.
Non-stop like this, gonna rock the party non-stop like this, gonna rock the non-stop like this, gonna rock the party non-stop like this, gonna rock like this, gonna rock the party non-stop like this, gonna rock like this, gonna rock.
Apparently that goes again. So that was an example of our bike skills challenge. And these kids are learning how to fit their helmet, how to start, how to stop, use their turning signals, and then controlling everything at the same time. Obstacle avoidance, there was like probably these half tennis balls we put in the middle of the course and some rope. And that's a typical day at work for these folks in San Antonio. And I had, not again. And so what we do is we go into these community centers where we have, a set group of kids. We go into schools and we teach them these things. One of our favorite spots is at formerly, you probably know it as Southside Lions Park, and that's where we're running our spring bait camp right now to utilize the Greenway trails, get them out. Going. If we're at Lions Field, you see us along Broadway using Avenue B, all of those things. And I'm stressing this because it's so important that we are doing this small, tiny part that nobody else is doing. And they are building and coming up with these ideas to build this infrastructure and get all of these new things in place. But how are you going to do that and then nobody knows how to use it? And that's what our staff is coming in and doing. Because it's not the situation where if you build it, they will come. It's like you got to build it, you got to show them how to use it, and then they're going to use it the right way, right? And then they'll know what a bad idea is for design. They'll know what a good idea is for the design because they're going to grow up doing this stuff. And I think that's so unique to this program for Ghisallo to do those things. Golden Rollers, again, started in 2015. That's just an action shot of how they hang out around the Riverwalk. It's just a lovely stroll. fun fact, the recumbents aren't wide enough to fit through that. So if anybody's working on ADA, little tip for you. So another important part about our organization is the partnerships. We would not have this organization be as successful as it has been without our partners, without the recreation centers allowing us to tap into this communities of kids. So thank you to Parks and Rec. And we very much look through the lens of Vision Zero, where we're doing this to save a life. We want 0 fatalities on the road as well. And it's going to start with building those habits young. And then also with our seniors, you can see it because they can actually take themselves out of the perspective of a driver, and they're experiencing the road as a cyclist at that age, and it's very unique. WOOM, they help us out with bikes for youth programs. So in all of our schools in Austin and in San Antonio, WOOM will provide us fleets of bikes. So we're really happy for that partnership, the MPO. And of course in Powerhouse, which are new partners with us, doing some more youth programming. So we got a lot going on. If you do have any ideas for us to come out and work with you, we do commuter trainings for businesses. There's also route planning that we do. So if you're trying to get somewhere and you don't know how to get there, our staff can handle route planning for you as well. And then you can find us, hopefully, please don't rain on McAllister Park on Saturday. We're going to be at Festive Tales at McAllister Park. You'll see us around during Bike Month and, of course, on Bike to Work Day. And then there's one other exciting project that's going to be starting up in August. We're going to be working with Burleson School of Innovation to help train those students with mechanical skills, so that way they can have some form of education and life skill to take them on to the next part of their life and have confidence in doing that. All right. If you have any questions, do not contact me. No, just kidding. we have our San Antonio staff right here, but please reach out to me if you have any questions specifically for me. We have Christina Solorzano, who's here on the ATAC committee and in person as well. Alexis Rodriguez, who is our coordinator. And again, my name is Carrie Coolmora. Thank you so much for the time to speak. Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you so much, Ghisallo. If I could get Via Metropolitan Transit up here for our final presentation of the night, I want to talk to you for a moment about leading pedestrian intervals. These forms of signal timing reduce crashes by 13% between vehicles and pedestrians. And a leading pedestrian interval is when pedestrian signals allow pedestrians to cross for 3 to 7 seconds before the traffic signal allows vehicular access into the intersection. So what that does is it increases the visibility of pedestrians to motorists, as well as reduces the conflicts. So we always want to remind people to always wait for the walk sign when signals are present, and when you are driving, to always yield for pedestrians when they're in the crossing. And take it away.
Thank you, Matthew, and thank you everyone for being here this evening. So I was looking over the agenda, and it looks like, and by the way, John Tiemann, Strategic Initiatives at Via Metropolitan Transit, the focus of myself, Lauren, and largely Veronica and Ruben as well, is really making sure that we're getting ready for the next phase of the Keep SA Moving Plan. So we'll walk through the Keep SA Moving Plan, what that is. We'll talk about the Via Rapid Silver Line in detail tonight. I know we're a little bit behind schedule right now, so I'll try to make this quick and ensuring that we get up to speed not only on this project, but again, the Keep SA Moving initiative. So to kind of level set with the group here, what we're trying to achieve here as an agency, Via, we want to make sure that we're providing transit that is attractive to our community and to our riders and helps connect people to greater opportunity. So what you see here on what we refer to as a waterfall graph is the level of interest in transit given how often a bus arrives at a bus stop. So as we have frequency that is 20 minutes or better, or from really 21% to 83%, that is attractive to many people based on a study that the Alamo Area Metropolitan Planning Organization did. So as we keep this in mind and as we look at the Keep SA Moving plan and the components of it, we want to make sure that we're providing service that is attractive, and that means trying getting closer to that 20 minutes or better service. Granted, we're striving for 30 minutes or better given the funding, but as we get anything beyond 21 minutes, you can see that the interest in transit begins to taper off. It's a challenge we have as a community from a land use perspective and making sure that we're accommodating the wide region that we serve, as well as making sure that we're delivering the service in an effective and efficient manner to connect most folks to the opportunities we can given the funding we have. So the next piece here is really, again, helping level set where we are as a community here in the Bexar County region. We have here a pink and blue graphic overlay on Bexar County. In blue, you see how far you can travel in 45 minutes time in a single occupancy vehicle. That's access to virtually every job and opportunity if you can afford a vehicle and if you have the means to do so in getting everyone in your family and colleagues alike to get where they need to go. Where you see in pink, however, is kind of the lay of the land for transit. That's about how far you can get in 45 minutes time taking public transit in San Antonio. So again, in 45 minutes, you have about 10% access to the opportunities there on, I believe it's the east side, and then on the medical center area, you have about access to 20% of the economic opportunities. So as we're looking to improve transit, improve access to opportunity, we're very conscientious of not only the level of service that we provide, saying again, 20-minute or better service, what we're striving towards. Right now, we're at 72% of our services, I think 30 minutes or greater. So we got some work to do, and that's what the Keep SA Moving Plan is. 3 components of the Keep SA Moving Plan. A better bus system, that's getting us to that 30-minute or better frequency. That is a project that is currently underway at the agency. We're working with some key stakeholders to making sure that we have the right goals and objectives in place, that we're prioritizing the right things, and getting that community feedback as we go into the summer on the next phase of the project. Via Link is that mobility on the demand service. I know we talked a little bit about that with the city of New Braunfels, but really it's that Uber or Lyft-like experience without the Uber or Lyft-like price tag. So for $130, you can go anywhere within particular zones. We have 4 zones right now in the Bexar County region, connecting folks to opportunity, and then of course to our overall transit network. Lastly, and most excitingly, is advanced rapid transit. And again, we'll focus on Silver Line a little bit tonight, but just some updates on advanced rapid transit. We have the Green Line, which is a north-south line from essentially 410 to Steve's Avenue of capital improvements with buses and dedicated lanes on key portions of that corridor. We've gone through an environmental process. We're entering into the final design process, and the construction management process is about to kick off as well. So you're going to start hearing more conversation regarding this Green Line project, and we're really excited about that. Most notably as well with the State of the Union and the proposed budget from the President this past week, we have about $130 million additional dollars going to the Green Line project, which is something that, as a result of voters approving the reallocation of sales tax, we're able to tap into those federal dollars that we never were able to in the past. So that, again, that's something that's really exciting. Silver Line also was in the President's budgets to the tune of about 100 and so million. I have to get the numbers. I haven't committed them to memory yet, but nevertheless, really excited about having additional funding allocated, again, in a proposed budget. So I have to go through the congressional process. Nevertheless, as we look at the Silver Line connecting the west and east sides of San Antonio from General McMullen to the Frost Bank Center, again, same features, dedicated lanes, station locations are still being assessed. We'll dive into those details, but those are really some really exciting updates that we have for the Via Rapid project. So just real quick here. So 2020, 68% voter approval for the reallocation of existing sales tax to better fund transit. And again, that's important because now we're able to tap into federal dollars, almost $500 million worth of capital dollars from the federal government to help bring about these advanced rapid transit projects. Significant investment that the San Antonio region has not been able to tap into until recently. Granted, we'll get that funding in January 1, 2026, but nevertheless, we're in the pipeline for some really amazing work. Advanced rapid transit. So I'll fast forward a little bit here to get to kind of what we're looking at in terms of station design and station locations and things of that nature. But here you have a rendering of center running stations. Again, advanced rapid transit being essentially nationally known as bus rapid transit, vehicles and dedicated lanes on key portions of the corridor to provide better frequency and level of service to the community. We also have here what a side running station would look like as an artistic rendering. So the bus, of course, or the vehicle would come to the station, it'd be level boarding, and people could board, and the vehicle would progress, not interrupted by traffic, where we have these center running lanes for the vehicle. So for the proposed Silver Line, again, the green line that I led with and I provided a very brief overview on, that's a couple years ahead of the Silver Line. Silver Line, we're very early in the process. We just had some public meetings back in January. We had robust attendance over the course of 3 public meetings. We had conversations with the community, hearing from them, hearing priorities regarding the project, and really want to make sure that the project itself is reflective of what the community is looking for. So again, we're early, but what you can see here are some of the factors and criteria that go into determining, okay, what should we be mindful of in terms of where even the route is located? What are some criteria that we should be mindful of in terms of where the stations are located? And of course, public input is really important in that process. You can see that, of course, it does intersect with the green line here. Again, running from General McMullen, Our Lady of the Lake University location to Frost Bank Center on the east side. So part of the Silver Line project itself, we want to make sure that we're mindful of the growth that the region's experiencing. I think as we look through this document here and we've sent it over to the FTA, we're citing, an additional 1 million or so people coming by the year 2040. But of course, that has since changed. The growth is far more significant than that. So we need to make sure we're doing at least our part in being mindful of the growth that we're experiencing in the region, the opportunities that present themselves by the year 2050, what that looks like. And we want to make sure, of course, that we're providing, again, that access to opportunity across the San Antonio region. So 3 quick things here. Via Rapid, whether it is the green or whether it's the Silver Line, it'll save you time, it'll simplify your trip, and it's going to provide more transit options, an option that we haven't been able to experience again because we haven't been able to tap into the federal dollars like we have today. So high level, we're looking at a proposed 10-minute service of a vehicle coming by a station for the Silver Line as well as for the Green Line. We're looking at 15-minute service on the weekend, so a vehicle coming by every 15 minutes. Again, it won't be interrupted by traffic where we have the center running lanes, and we want to make sure that we have other tools in place to provide more efficiency in the service, such as bus-friendly traffic signals. So if the traffic signal is about to turn yellow or red, the vehicle will communicate with the traffic signal saying, hey, hold on, I'm coming, give me 1 second, I'm going to pass through the intersection. So it'll kind of delay the duration of time before it transitions to the next cycle in the traffic programming. Similarly with the red, so if it's red or green, there will be an extended period of time for the vehicle to pass through that intersection. We also want to make sure that we have, in everything we do, accessibility in mind. So we'll have level boarding. So today you'll see a vehicle that'll kneel, or the vehicle will lower, deploy a ramp. Those with a mobility device could then board the vehicle. What we want to make sure is that we're making that a better experience for our customers and with those with a mobility device by having level boarding at our stations. So the vehicle will be level with the station and the person can enter the vehicle, again, without a ramp having to be deployed. And that's time savings as well. Another really great factor that we have is paying before you board. So at the station locations, although not solidified for the Silver Line, they are solidified for the Green Line. We're really looking at paying before you board so that you can enter in any of the 3 doors on the vehicle. You can see kind of small here, the graphic, different boarding locations for the bus or the advanced rapid transit vehicle. So we want to make sure that streamlining the payment process so folks aren't fumbling through change or what have you before they enter, again, providing those efficiency gains. Additional benefits, I mentioned the economic opportunity. If we're able to increase the level of service that we provide by providing better frequency, people can travel faster, they can go further and get opportunity to whether it's the job, education, or if it's healthcare needs or what have you, we're providing that option. So these are all things that we want to be mindful of in creating a more connected community and providing those opportunities for those who may not have so otherwise. And of course, I did mention the 3 pillars of the Keep SA Moving Plan: Better Bus, Via Rapid Green Line, and the Via Rapid Silver Line. So what you can see here is how early on we started with the Via Rapid Green Line and how much time has since occurred and the progress we've made where Via Rapid Silver Line has now picked up, and through really conversations with community leaders, conversations with the community, and conversations with the FTA, this has been fast-tracked in many ways. So we're wanting to make sure that we're doing our due diligence, doing our analyses, getting the public involved. So you'll hear more from the Via Rapid Silver Line, hopefully this summer, about some upcoming public engagement opportunities. But if you know of any other organizations that we could present to on that particular project in greater detail, let us know. Lauren, Veronica, Ruben, we're all here. We would love to be in front of your organization. Lastly, of course, the Better Bus Plan, something that's also underway. You'll hear more about that this summer. We're also happy to give presentations on that too. So with that, you can go to keepsamoving.com to learn more. Appreciate everyone's time, and I'll turn it back over to Matthew.
All right, thank you so much. Go ahead and stay right there. I'm actually going to invite all of our presenters to come up to the front. We are going to do some questions and answers, and it'll save me a trip around the room if you're all up here for those questions. So if any of you have questions at this time, feel free to raise your hand. I can come up to you and give you the mic. We'll have the presenters up here to be able to talk to you about those. We do have some online questions at this time. If we don't have any in person that we could get started with. Are there any in-person questions at this time? All right, I will get started on the first question, and it looks like it is for the Alamo Area MPO, and I'm actually going to turn it over to Clifton for this question. The question is, what types of projects fall under AAMPO's congestion mitigation funding? If this includes roadway expansion, is the concept of induced demand factored into funding and decision making?
Thanks, Matthew. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Clifton Hall. I'm the Transportation Planning Program Manager here at the Alamo Area MPO. So I oversee the day-to-day operations of transportation planning at the MPO, including the Transportation Improvement Program. So this being a funding question, I will do my best to answer it. The Congestion Mitigation Air Quality Program really is about reducing the number of single occupant vehicle trips. So reducing congestion is kind of the secondary objective. The air quality is really what the CMAQ program is focused on. And so every air quality project, every CMAQ project has to have an emissions reduction benefit, which is really just an estimate of what we guess that the project based on previous projects. We actually use a calculator developed by FHWA to determine this estimate, but we do make an estimate for each project that receives CMAQ funding or that even goes through our project call. And so those project types are transit, both operating, replacing buses with diesel buses with electric buses, or one of our best projects we've had in the CMAQ program so far is compressed natural gas buses. There is also bicycle pedestrian projects are eligible, and some of the other beneficial projects that we do get through our project call for CMAQ are operational improvements, and so especially intersection improvements or somewhat roadway improvements that might add some capacity at intersections. But what you would think of as a traditional added capacity, and what we think of added capacity at the MPO, where you widen a roadway and add travel lanes for more than a few thousand feet, might be the tops that you can go. Just a traditional added capacity project is not eligible for CMAQ. And so that's both at the federal level and at the local level, we've made that decision. But those intersection improvements are very beneficial because they do allow cars to, one, they dwell at stoplights and in traffic. You're in less traffic in the intersection. And so the higher the speed you have, the better the air quality is. Your car is designed to go 65 miles per hour, not 0 miles per hour or 10 miles per hour. And so the quicker you can get through the intersection and get moving again, the better that is for air quality. So we do have those type of projects that you might consider added capacity, but not in a traditional sense. And so the induced demand question, that's that's very controversial. There's not a lot of hard science behind it, and so we don't really get into it with the CMAQ program. There's really no guidance at all about taking that into account from the federal level, and none here at this local level either. So hopefully that answers that question well.
All right, thank you so much. Any questions at this time? Go ahead and raise your hand for any in-person questions. If not, we have another online question. This one is for the San Antonio Parks and Recreation Department. What methods have you found effective to prevent illegal dumping near trails?
I would tell you for the most part, and this is what we share with our community whenever we are proposing a new trail through the planning process, every time you activate a space, right, that really is the best method to prevent any illegal activity, illegal dumping, because now you have a lot of different people going through that area. You have from the trail stewards, park police. Park police is specifically dedicated to parks, and trails they're not policing the city of San Antonio streets or anything else. They're specifically dedicated for parks. And then you have the volunteers, you have the operational maintenance. So once you have a lot of eyes on the areas, that's where it really decreases the illegal activities. So it's a win-win. Once we activate a space, you have a nice trail, and then you have the community being able to also participate in the, eyes on the system.
All right, thank you so much. Any questions in person? Yes?
What does Ghisallo stand for?
What does Ghisallo stand for? Or what does it mean?
So Ghisallo is actually the patron saint of cycling. There's actually a place in Italy that's a church, and it's dedicated to Ghisallo da Madonna, and then there's cycling stuff around. So if you look for any patron saints of cycling, it does exist, and we are named after that patron saint.
All right, we'll go ahead and do an online question at this time. This one is for the city of San Antonio. I believe we will have the transportation department speaking on this question. Question is, the NTSB guidelines slide suggests narrow lanes, speed bumps, and roundabouts for safer speeds and traffic calming. However, during a public transportation meeting I attended, the city shared that we have a $1 million budget for traffic calming, and a lot of that is being spent on radar feedback signs and making stop sign lights. Can someone explain why we choose these as our projects to fund for traffic calming?
Hi, my name is Harley Hubbard. I'm the assistant to the director at the City of San Antonio Transportation Department. Unfortunately, we don't have anyone from the Public Works Department here because they would really give you a solid answer to that, to knock that out of the park. Because that was an online question, I'm not sure if they can follow up with an email, or we can give them my email. Everyone has it. You can Google it. It's harley.hubbard. There's 2 Harleys in the city. You'll find me. If you want to send me your contact information, I can definitely connect you with the people at Public Works so that you can get that question answered and find ways to better engage if that is a concern that you have. But thank you.
All right. Any in-person questions? We got one in-person question over here.
Yeah, this is for the, I guess, the transportation presentation. For the survey, we're asking about how cyclists felt safe using different streets. Were there any questions that investigated how, if there were any secure parking facilities for their bikes at their destination locations? Because if I'm going to ride my bike and park it up at a store and then come back out and it's gone, it doesn't really do much for encouraging me to ride to that destination in the first place.
All right, going back to COSA Transportation.
Thank you for that question, because that gives me a chance to highlight the parts of the bike plan that I think a lot of people don't appreciate. Is it's not just about infrastructure, and it's not just about paint and delineators and armadillos on roads. It's about what other accessory infrastructure we can add to make cycling more safe in San Antonio. Today in other presentations, we've talked a lot about trees and the need for shade if you're going to cycle in the summer. Things like access to public drinking water, water fountains, bike repair stations to, pump up a tire, or, just better lighting and how things like that do impact cycling. To answer your question directly, no, that specific question on bike access was not in the survey because we know the answer. We know the answer is if you don't have anywhere to put your bike, you're not gonna ride there. And that is something that we are working on addressing in the plan with our partners, and we recognize it as a need. So thank you for bringing that up.
All right, we're going to do an online question right now. We'll do an in-person question, ask again right after this. This question is for VIA Metropolitan Transit, asking, does VIA currently or has VIA considered increasing frequency of service during special events? For example, during Fiesta, Holidays on Houston, or for Spurs games?
Yes, yes, and yes. So we had a really robust special event service pre-pandemic. You know, as the transit industry as a whole has experienced, folks are leaving the industry, they're retiring, finding other opportunities in the private sector because they do have the CDL license, and you know that they can go and drive a truck and go pursue other opportunities that align with their needs. So we are, that aside, we are hiring, by the way, if anyone is looking for a job. So we are hiring, and we are hiring, and we are hiring. That aside, as we are staffing up and we are recruiting and we are retaining and growing back our fleet to where it was pre-pandemic, we do want to bring back our special event service. Absent that, of course, with some really innovative solutions to service, things like the partnership between Central San Antonio, UTSA, and VIA to provide a mobility on demand like service in the downtown region can help maybe address some of those mobility issues or needs that we have as a community when it gets to, you know, driving safely, getting to special events. That may be a Band-Aid. Advanced Rapid Transit, the Green and Silver Line alike, are also additional options. So as folks are either coming from the Stone Oak Park and Ride area or the Brooks Transit Center, and they're trying to get into downtown to attend a special event, they'll be able to take the Green Line, transfer to the Silver Line, and experience the Spurs winning their next championship, hopefully well before then. Separate from that, you know, one of the things that I didn't get to touch on that I think it's important for this group is that although we're talked about the Via Rapid service, when it comes to sidewalk infrastructure, bicycle infrastructure, those are things that are also part of the plan. We're working with the city of San Antonio. We're working with our other partnering agencies to ensure that we have alignment on what we want to see on these key corridors where we have this Via Rapid investment. So it's not lost on us. We want to make sure that we're providing connectivity for any mode of transportation that as best as we can. So ADA compliant sidewalks, bike lanes, things of that nature, to making sure folks can access this really fantastic Via Rapid service that you'll see come online in 2027.
Thank you so much. In-person question?
So I had asked that previous question that you answered. I just kind of wanted to follow up on like why I asked that.
Why does Spurs haven't won yet, or which part?
About the special event. So I live on South St. Mary's, and it's like surrounded by parking lots, and they're pretty much only full during special events. And it'd be cool to like see that space be something more interesting, have like businesses or something cool. So I was thinking like, oh, if we have another way to get people downtown for special events, then like maybe we don't need to dedicate like all that asphalt for parking. So that was kind of like the reasoning behind my question.
Good question. So that even goes beyond the special event service, right? In terms of how we want to use the limited land use that we have today. So when it comes to that limited land use that we have today, we need to think about, okay, special event service, that's one piece. But the city of San Antonio is focusing on transit-oriented development to ensure that we're leveraging the limited resource we have as effectively as we can to move people through our region as efficiently as we can. We can't continue to build our way out of congestion, so we need to be mindful of that. And one of the ways that we can be mindful of that is working comprehensively as a group of agencies to ensure that we're connecting all the dots between transit-oriented development, public transit, bicycle infrastructure, pedestrian infrastructure, and even special events.
All right, go ahead and stay right there because we got an online question for Via as well. What's the main barrier to improving service times, and what can be done to address that barrier?
So I did mention we're hiring. We are hiring. That's a key piece. The other piece is, we are probably the most affordable large transit entity in the nation, if not one of the most affordable. When you look at our fare structure, we're really good at making a penny stretch really, really far. And that's just the fare structure. Now, when we look at the sales tax revenue that we generate, just to provide some context here, the city of Houston, or rather Houston Metro, and VIA have the same service area. We both cover the same square mileage, which is huge. It is 1,200 square miles or so, give or take a few, 10 or 20. They have a very robust economy. And the reason why that's important is because VIA is funded on a sales tax basis, just like Houston Metro is. And they get 1% of their sales tax to fund their transit. So they have a very robust economy. They have 1% sales tax that goes to funding transit. Let's move west to San Antonio. We have right now about half a penny, just for the sake of math. It's a little bit more than that with Advanced Transportation District, but I don't want to get into the particulars. But for the sake of the math here, half a cent, we don't have nearly the economy that Houston does to provide the transit we do. So we have to make every penny stretch even further in a region that's comparable in size to Houston in connecting folks to opportunity. So where you see what that means really at the end of the day, if we look at the past operating budget for Houston Metro, they were at about $790 million. We are less than half of that. And we still have to provide service to the same degree as best we can to ensure folks have that access to opportunity. So when it comes to providing better service and frequency, it really comes down to how many dollars we can allocate for VIA. And thankfully, again, the voters in 2020 reallocated existing sales tax. So we're starting to see some really tangible benefits on that already.
Thank you so much. We are coming short on time, so I do ask that we keep these comments and responses as concise as we can. We have an in-person question.
Yeah, this one's for Parks and Rec. I know on y'all's slide that y'all had the trails closed between sunset and sunrise, but with times and how the works here, I mean, it's really difficult to actually use it for commuting. Is there any plans to change that, or what are kind of some of the roadblocks that we're running into with making it open more? Sure.
All right, Margarita.
Okay, so we are looking into some areas for pilot projects to install illumination and extend the hours. However, I do want to remind you that a lot of our trails go in the natural areas behind people's homes. And when we do that, having that illumination at all hours of the night definitely is going to impact the residents that live behind, in front of these trails. A second is that we're working in the floodplain. And installing infrastructure like that is very sensitive. So, but we are, like the West Side Creeks, those are designated for commuting. So we are looking into illuminating areas and expanding the hours of operations for those locations to include that commuting time and providing illumination. But the other ones, we're still looking through it. We've heard from our community. The more we get those kind of questions and comments, then we can start looking to see what areas of town make sense that we start providing illumination.
Thank you so much. We've got two more questions we're going to roll through. This one is for the city of San Antonio. I believe it is for the Public Works Department. Harley can nod her head once I ask the question, just to make sure. The question is, when are we going to see leading pedestrian intervals implemented across San Antonio? A study from New York City said implementing one cut bike and pedestrian deaths and severe injuries by 37% at a cost of $2 per intersection.
That is indeed a Public Works question.
So,
I know exactly who to ask at Public Works.
So similar to the question earlier for coastal transportation. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's already, yeah.
So she can lead you to the right person to ask if you want to reach out to her. The final question for tonight is for the City of San Antonio Parks Department.
We feel the love.
I just want to briefly say what we're doing for Complete Streets and Vision Zero, those
Okay. So for the City of San Antonio Parks Department, there was a note about widening parts of the Greenway. Are there volume indicators that tell you when a part of the Greenway needs to be widened?
Yeah, so we are currently partnering with TTI, the Texas Transportation Institute. They're putting temporary counters in some of the areas of the Greenway trails to count the pedestrians and cyclists going through there. In some areas, they're even putting cameras so we can capture the speed of the cyclists. So if you're a speeder out there, watch out. But anyhow, we are doing that collection because we heard it loud and clear during the budget process last year that their areas of our Greenway trails are so popular and our residents want that more expansion. So we're in the process of looking at that and figuring out how we expand those areas without really impacting the floodplain in the creeks. So yes, we're looking at it.
All right. That's going to be the end of our program for tonight. I do have a couple of announcements from the MPO's end. Presenters, thank you so much for answering those hard-hitting questions tonight. We've been working closely with the City of San Antonio to update that Complete Streets policy that Joey mentioned with ActivateSA earlier, as well as a number of different initiatives going on, working with New Braunfels and making sure that everyone here is creating a cohesive and connected network for transportation throughout our region. Hopefully, y'all